a brand new video for In Bed with Guitars. Now, I said in my last video that the next couple of guitars I'll be working on was part of a deal. And this deal I made was the one deal that I had from Facebook Marketplace. Now, usually when I'm on Facebook Marketplace, I'm looking for, you know, used Crown Victorias, which I'd like to get one day, or I don't know, computers, video games, stuff like that. I still haven't really bought anything off of there, you know, but not for lack of trying. It seems like, I don't know, it's like there's a lot of product, but not a lot of attention, it would seem. Because when you put something up there, you don't get very many responses. And there's just like so much stuff. So it's like everyone's putting their stuff up there for sale, but no one's buying any of the stuff that's up there for sale. And it really sucks because there are great deals on there. Like, I mean, there are extremely good bargains on Facebook Marketplace, like gaming computers for like half of what they would cost new, guitars that are really cheap. I saw like a Marshall stack on there once that was I'm pretty sure it was a 4-spot. I mean, we're talking like 4 12-inch speakers and a head, and I think it was like, I don't know, like 800 or something, which is insane. That's less than half of what you'd pay for something. Actually, it's probably more like less than you know, a third of what you'd pay for something that's the equivalent of that in today's market for amps. And of course, maybe the, you know, tubes were about to go, or maybe the wiring was bad, or maybe one of the speakers was blown or rattly, or one of the casters was streaking or wobbling or locked up. You know, pick a reason for it to not be a good deal, but still, there are a lot of really good deals. Anyway, I put a whole bunch of stuff up there for sale, and I'm sitting there thinking, you know, this is free, and you can put anything you want up there. I saw so much stuff on there, I couldn't believe it. So, you know, I had like, I have these super rare collectible comics, and I put them up there, and they kept taking them off because people were complaining because they fall under like the adult comic category. There was not anything really like vulgar or too suggestive on the covers or anything, but and the reason I put them up is because I saw that people were selling like vintage Playboys and magazines like that all over the place. So I'm like, oh, well, people are selling these magazines, so maybe I'll sell these like kind of risque comic books that I have that are extremely rare and valuable. And they kept kicking off the comics all the time. They would take the comics off, even though the Playboys and the equivalent you know, magazines were all still there. They wouldn't let those comics be on there. So they seem to try to have like a moral filter, or at the very least, users can complain and have your stuff taken off of there. But, and that's not how Craigslist is. Craigslist has a lot looser filter. And I've actually successfully sold thousands of dollars of items on Craigslist. So, I mean, I can honestly say I've had more success with Craigslist. But in this particular case, I put a guitar up for sale. Several guitars up for sale. And one of them was my Angel of Death 2. It's a Dean Angel of Death 2. It's a Zero style guitar with an incredible graphic on it. I bought it just to hang on the wall because of the Angel of Death 2 graphic that was on it. I didn't buy this guitar to play. In my mind, I'm seeing myself standing up and playing this, and then the very tip of it hitting something and getting chipped, or the bottom horn of it hitting something, getting scratched or broken, and so, you know, I'm just thinking, you know, I would never want to risk destroying, you know, at least a semi-valuable, beautiful instrument, you know, under the conditions that I play, you know, in a pretty cramped area. So I wouldn't want a disaster. But it hung on the wall for years. I always treated the neck at least once a year, tuned it. I'd play it a few times just to make sure everything was good. But it was a very, very good instrument. Well, it's up for a while. I get lots of people contacting me about the guitar. One guy says, I'll give you like 200 bucks for it, which is retarded, you know. And of course I told him, hey, this thing right now is selling for, you know, $700 on Reverb. So I don't think so. It's not going for 200, okay. A lot of trade offers. Well, one guy sends me a picture of an offer, okay, and I'm going to go ahead and put the picture of the offer up on the screen now so that you can see what this guy offered me. It was several instruments. As a trade for it, and I told him, okay, we'll do this deal. Now I told him, you need to set a date when you're going to bring me these instruments, and I'll be ready and I'll give you the instruments at my door. And I said, but I'm going to leave it up because I've had lots of other offers, okay, and if you decide you don't want it, or if you can't get it by the agreed upon date, then the next person in line will get it. And I actually had a person offer me a really nice Epiphone. I had someone offer me less money than what I was asking, but still a relatively good amount of money. So I had that little, you know, buffer space where if this guy didn't want it, I knew I'd still get something, okay? So on the day when he was supposed to bring the instruments, he says, I can't get a ride. My friend backed out at the last minute. I said, well, look, if you still want it, you know, you're going to have to get here today, because I have 2 other people that I've already told that if the first person who offered the trade backed out, then they could have it. So today's the deadline. He said, okay, well, let me talk to my grandma. He tells his grandma he wants the guitar. It's his favorite guitar ever. And so his grandma decides to drive him here. Okay, it's like a couple-hour drive away. So these guys are trekking here to get this guitar. He brought me a classical guitar. Okay, which okay, when I looked at this, I talked to my 10-year-old son. Said, is there anything here that you might want? You know, because I'm thinking of making this guy a trade for this guitar. He goes, oh, well, I like that classical guitar. He said, I've always wanted a classical guitar, right? So I said, okay, classical guitar. And the guitar needed work though, and so of course my ears perk up, because I'm like, hey, I get to work on a guitar that I've never worked on before, and so that's very alluring to me. I get a chance to learn and to do something new. Also, this Telecaster was in the picture, and also an odd style, kind of a small scale Fender bass, okay, and that's another one I'm going to show later. So first I'll show the classical guitar real quick over this. I'll get that and I'll show it just to keep the story flowing. This guitar is and I looked it up, and this guitar is actually probably almost as valuable or more valuable than any other instruments that I picked up from this deal. It's a Protege, okay? It is a Cordoba 3/4 scale classical guitar called a Protege, all right? And the strings were broken, it stunk. It was absolutely filthy. It had stains on it, and I cleaned it. I did the bridge. I did the fretboard. I did the work on that. I treated the fretboard and cleaned it. The guitar I completely cleaned. It had ink and like really deep stains. And then I bought these strings, and I watched a video on how to restring a classical guitar. So if you can look on there, that's my first work, restringing a classical guitar. And it turned out perfectly, and this guitar ended up playing very, very well and sounding really, really good. And this was for my 10-year-old son, so he could have a classical guitar to practice on and to play. And of course, if any of us want to play it, he doesn't care. We can all play this beautiful instrument. Which brings me to the fun part of the story. When this guy came over, I decided, hey, he seems harmless. It ended up being a kid. I mean, I think he might have been between 16, maybe 18. I think he was a kid. Okay, I mean, he was a youngster, and he reminded me kind of me. Only he was quite a bit shorter than I was at that. I was 6'1" when I was 16. I weighed about 150 pounds of basically solid muscle. I mean, I climbed trees constantly. I was always outside. I was a country boy. I was always doing martial arts and things like that. So I was a really buff, ripped. I had an 8-pack and big, biceps, and my back muscles were ripped and everything. I was a big, muscular dude, but I was skinny. I'd always been skinny. In fact, my nickname when I was a kid was Beanpole. And this guy was really trim, he had a pretty good build and everything, but he was short. He was a really short guy. He smelled like Jamaican me crazy, okay? This guy smelled like a bong, like he flew here on a bong, seriously. He smelled like weed, like he just jumped out of a bag of ganja. And I used to smoke big time. I used to smoke for decades, but it's been about 10 years since I've done anything like that. I matured, and like a lot of guys who were, who smoked until they were permanently fried, like I did. I lost all my friends, but I gained all my stuff when I quit, and that's a lesson for you. If you want to lose all your friends and keep all your stuff, quit smoking weed. That's how that works. But so this guitar reeked of weed. The classical guitar and the bass guitar, all three guitars, he was like, I don't know, it was like there was a cloud like Pigpen from Peanuts, right? Only it was like permanent weed fuzz all around him. He was completely blown out of his mind, fried when he came here. He smelled like weed. The guitars all totally reeked of weed. So when I cleaned this instrument, there was actually a spot on the body right here, and you could tell that it had been used to roll weed on it. Like someone was like setting this guitar down on a table or couch or something, and then rolling joints or something, maybe dumping out weed or breaking it up on the body, so much that there was like a patch there where, and the whole thing just reeked of weed. I joked and said that I was said online about these guitars. I told the story on I don't know, on one of those online social media groups or something about when I got these three guitars. And I said that I was joking with Aaron that I went downstairs after we got the three guitars, and I said, I'm actually not going to clean them or fix them or anything. We're actually going to burn them and smoke them. Just joking. And my son didn't really know. I mean, they know when we're taking walks around town, which we do a lot, what the smell of weed is, because you can smell it from houses and cars and stuff like that, but never direct contact, really like super strong smell of weed. And these guitars, they smelled like they were made of weed. Seriously, it was that strong. They don't smell like that anymore, but it took a long time and a lot of cleaning and stuff, especially with the classical guitar. I cleaned this classical guitar relentlessly to try to get the smell out of it, and eventually the smell wore out. This instrument, I haven't done anything yet to. This is exactly as it was when he handed it to me. This is loose. This is tight. This feels pretty good. It feels okay. It's covered in dust and dirt. It also has some love on it here. We've got some little chips here, and I'll show the pictures that he gave me so that you can see that these were on it already, and I knew that it had that. Now this is a Squier Telecaster, but it's one of the more modern Telecasters that has the Stratocaster style saddles. So usually a Telecaster has like a bar for a saddle, either three assorted bars, and then those will have one adjustment screw, and then it can be adjusted and raised up and down for intonation. These are block saddles, the same as what would be on a Stratocaster. Okay, so I'm considering putting an original style Telecaster bridge on this, possibly a Wilkinson, maybe even a Fender one, if I can find an old ashtray that will actually fit this. And I'm going to do some measurements with calipers and with my little measuring stuff, just to see right where the screws are for fitment. I don't know if this works right or if it works. I haven't tested it. I think he said it worked. It's got one string tree for the high E and the B string, and you know, it's just a Telecaster. Now I've seen one I think was the same on one of the YouTubers' channels, and I think she was gifted it and she didn't like it. She was like, I don't know, it didn't fit with her. She just didn't like how it was. Now I like Telecasters. I can say I have one that's custom made. I have a custom made Telecaster that was made by a guy named Mikey G, who had a online store called Mikey G Customs, and my Telecaster has an aftermarket neck with his signature and emblem on it, and the top emblem actually fell off, but the bottom emblem stayed on. And I think he called it a twang caster or something like that. But the body of the guitar that I bought was made of a piece of repurposed, super old gymnasium floor, and it was pine. This was like an old pine wood gymnasium floor that they had torn down a school or something and had a gymnasium floor left, and they were giving out this wood. And Mikey G got a bunch of select aged pine from that floor and started turning them into custom Telecasters. So it's a one of a kind. I love it. I mean, it's great. I'm a, you know, cheap guitar lover, I guess, but it's a good guitar. It's a very good one. I'd like to replace the nut on it and change some things around. In fact, I might go ahead and try to get an aftermarket neck to take some of the twang off of it. I'm not much of a hillbilly country twangy player. If I can get it a little, maybe 10% more rock or metal, then it would be an easier instrument for me to use more. Now, of course, this has a rosewood style, whatever, dark wood neck, which is not your typical Telecaster neck. Usually Telecasters are maple necks. So this is a weird Tele because it's got your Stratocaster saddles, but it has your typical Tele types of pickups. I don't know if this is, you know, hot or if it's good or different than what's usually on a Telecaster, but they're arranged in the same way. You get your angled kind of open air single coil here with the edges visible. This feels almost like it's glued in or something. I really hope it's not, because usually you have a little bit of play with these and this isn't moving at all. And then you have your little covered kind of thinner single coil. There's like dirt floating on it. The action's too high, I can already see. There's some hangy frets. The frets have never had any work done, so I assume there's probably some high spots here and there. The nut is cut well, possibly too low. Yeah, actually that's touching. Yeah, so this might need a new nut. These are the original strings, and so from the feel, I'd say these are 10s or 11s. So there's a good chance by putting 10s on it, it's not going to fix the problem. Because if the nut seems a little too low, then and you know it's 9s, so you know that if you put fatter gauge strings on it, maybe the nut won't be so low. That can help to fix it, especially if it's just a tiny amount. But this looks like, yeah, this is touching. So as I test this, that's touching. That's not good. You don't want your strings touching right out of the nut. Okay. So that's something where the nut, it's telling me the nut might just need to be replaced altogether. So what I'll probably do is put a roller tree on the headstock. I'll put possibly a new nut on the headstock. I will probably put a standard bridge, maybe. I don't know, there's probably nothing wrong with these saddles, you know, as they are, but it's just weird to me. It's weird seeing a Stratocaster look right here when this should be those iconic bars that are always on Telecasters. And there's a reason they made it this way. This is a modern take on a Telecaster. They want it to look, you know, like a newer style of Telecaster. And the color is not reminiscent of a Telecaster. The saddles are Strat, they're not Tele. The knobs are okay. The knobs are kind of Tele. This knob's just spinning. So I know this needs fixed. Oh, it smells, my fingers smell like weed now. Yeah, by turning this and getting some of the nasty that's on this plate, and yeah, I'm smelling my fingers smell really strong like weed. Big time. So yeah, phew, man, holy crap. So this guitar is going to need completely disinfected and disinfuncted, okay, to get it where we're going with it. So this is going to be the next In Bed with Guitars is my adventure acquired Squier modern Telecaster, and I want to make this thing good and playable. And I can see I've got my work cut out for me because the neck needs work, the nut needs work, the saddle or the string tree needs work, the saddles might need work or need to be replaced. That pickup I really hope is not glued on, because that could just raise all kinds of cane on dealing with this instrument. It's a string through, so we've got our ferrules, so we know it's not a stopped hardtail. It's got your skunk stripe. I don't know if that's how these usually are, and it still has the plastic on the closed back tuners. So the little plastic nasty that you usually peel off of those little circles on the back, it's still on there. Okay, so, and I don't know if this ever got played. Judging by the wear on the frets, it looks like it was seldom, if ever, played. It looks like it got knocked around a lot. I think that this guitar actually smoked a lot of weed too. Like the guitar was standing there with them in the rotation, and they passed the joint to the guitar. The guitar smoked some of the joint and then passed it to the next guy. And that explains it. This guitar was never played. It was just a player. All right, so next up, Telecaster. So here is the Mikey G Custom. And I'm not 100% sure, but I think this might be either a Squier or Wilkinson. But as you can see, it has the 3 bars here with strings over it. The same type of pickup, but there's some play in the pickup. You can see that I can just slightly move the pickup a little bit. We have the same type of pickup here. I've angled it probably to reduce the bass response, and you can see this body at first glance is hey, that's Tele, but it's really a big piece of repurposed super old pine wood floor. We've got the neck, Wilkinson branded tuners, and you can see the upside down Mikey G Custom decal and signature from when it was made. Tele style. I think it's a plastic nut, pretty sure, and I put the roller trees on it. I don't think it's in tune right now. No, goodness no. And of course I've done the work on it, so it plays pretty good. Like I said, I'd either like to put a new neck on it, or possibly just put a new nut on it. I think a new nut would probably fix the problem, because I think the nut might be a little tiny bit low. But it plays great. It is a Telecaster. It's got a twangy kind of sound to it. A lot of people, I think, prefer that. So let's see if I can't zoom in and give you a look at this body. And let's see. Okay. And kind of get a look here. This, you can see this is not your typical Telecaster guitar body. Visible wood grain at a minimal treatment at the very most. And you know, it's one of a kind. But it is essentially the same as the other one as far as the layout goes. Now this one does have the hardtail where the stop piece is part of the bridge plate. Okay, so the stop piece is right here. And so with the new one, we have the ferrules, and so the strings are going through each of the saddles. I guess that's good. The break angle is going to be really sharp for the strings. So someone may find that desirable. But all in all, your typical, as far as I know, the Telecaster is kind of meant to have that plate have the stop piece, and the ferrules are, you know, a little too much work. It's too much, but that's part of it. And so, if I put a different bridge on here, then I may have to have useless, unused string ferrules on the bottom of this guitar, because the you know, the plate would be the new stop piece. And I really don't care about that, but you know, it's just another thing. Like you know, it's kind of weird to do something like that. So also, I had an adventure today. Since my relationship with my Les Paul, my Epiphone, the Slash November burst that I got, that I put a new bridge on, and that I totally love the guitar. It's just like one of my favorite guitars ever. I've been looking around at Epiphones, and I saw an Epiphone called a LP100, and it's the one of, if not the least expensive. I think it's almost the least expensive Les Paul by Epiphone, and it actually has a bolt-on neck. People have said the pickups in it are pretty good. It has a carved top, 3 different colors. The 2 colors that are transparent have a maple veneer, and the black one is a carved top mahogany. Bare bones, really thin, no binding on the neck, no binding on the body. And I used to hate that. I used to think I'll never want a Les Paul that doesn't have binding. But when I saw this guitar, I thought 2 things. I thought, first off, it looks amazing. Like, it just looks like it would be an amazing guitar. But then I also realized that it would be perfect for the decal that I wanted to put on a black instrument. Either on a black instrument or a red instrument that would match the character's colors. And I actually think a black instrument would be better. Okay, because it's a black and white decal. Mostly white. So I was getting ready to get this LP100, and then I started looking on eBay, and I found another guitar that I didn't know existed, a Les Paul Studio LT. Okay, a Les Paul Studio LT, and it has a different kind of bolt-on. It's like a super thin bolt-on without a plate. And it has the recessed. It has a recessed design for the screws, and it has zebra humbuckers, which are better humbuckers, I guess, than what are in the LP100. And I guess it's just all around a better guitar. Now, the LP100 I saw from American Music was $250. Great deal. Free shipping, $250. So, and like, I think it was like 2 or 3 day shipping. So beautiful. Great deal. But then I found this Studio LT. And it was only $200, and it was like $22 shipping. So I'm like, oh my goodness, man, which one should I get? So the guy had make an offer on there, right? So I threw the first automatic offer that eBay popped up. I think it was like, I don't know, 189 or something like that, and he took it. So I actually got what the total with tax and shipping and everything was $222. I got a Epiphone Les Paul Studio LT, ebony black, with zebra pickups, and he said it was like new. He said he set it up and is like new with a gig bag for $222. And that's going to be one for the future, because I'm going to have to show it off, and just, you know, if anything needs done with it, I'm going to be putting the decal on it. So the very bare minimum, it'll be a you know, decal decoration video. So I got some workers. It looks like they're working on the window in my attic, because we had a window break up in the attic. Hopefully they're fixing that very carefully. It's very, very dangerous, super high up attic window. So okay, this is, you know, maybe a closer interpretation of what you might expect to see if the Telecaster pops up in your head. And so they knew this, and so they said, hey, let's do a departure from the Telecaster, and then we end up with this. And so it's a nice departure from your typical Telecaster, and we're going to start doing some work on it. I'm going to tear the thing apart. It just needs totally torn. I'm going to tear the entire thing apart, and then clean and check the wiring, check the pots and everything. Just give this thing I'm going to dismantle it, and we'll see if we can't get the pot stank off of it. Honestly, if I wanted to catch a buzz, I could probably burn the strings that I just took off this guitar. Every one of them smells like stinky weed. Oh goodness, man. The strings stink. Okay, so the strings are off. Wow. Now, I had a soft spot for the kid, though, for real. Because, I mean, honestly, when I was his age, that's pretty much where I was, too. All my friends and I would hang out and drink beer and smoke weed and blow stuff up with M80s and yell at the moon on the railroad tracks at night. Typical teenage kind of stuff. Okay, so here we go. We've got this nasty instrument going on. So anyway, like I said, I had a soft spot for the kids, so I gave him the Jackson guitar too that I had for sale. And in all honesty, I really was just trying to get rid of the Jackson, because I never liked it. I mean, I got it, my daughter bought it from Sam Ash, and the instrument was pretty much bad out of the box. It had, it was like the paint got cooked or something. It had like kind of a bubble, kind of melted look to the paint, and it had lots of problems. Like, it had really bad frets, the neck wasn't, it just didn't feel right. Nothing felt right about the guitar. So I set it up. I set it up as best as I could to get it playing, and it ended up being okay to play, but it still had some problems with the paint, especially on the back of the instrument. And honestly, the plastic on it and stuff, it was like it had been cooked in an oven. The guitar is like it had been just cooked in an oven. That's the only thing that would cause that. The plastic was kind of like, I don't know, like fuzzy, brazen kind of look to it, really like it had been cooked in an oven. I told him about that, but then I told him, hey, I set this thing up and it can actually play okay now, so I'm just going to throw that in for free. And he goes, oh, well, do you have like a mini amp or something? He said, because I don't want to make my grandma mad playing this stuff, right? So I gave him my little Dan Electro mini amp that I had that I showed off a couple videos back. So he got hooked up pretty fast. Now, okay, this guitar new is a little over $200. Okay, the bass he gave me is a Squier Bronco new. It's a little over $200. And the Cordoba Protege, the classical guitar he gave me, is worth a little over $200. So new, we're looking at about $650 for everything. Now with the flavorings and chips and dings and cracks and stuff, of course, it takes off the overall value of the instruments. So I did hook him up. I hooked him up pretty fat because the guitar I gave him was worth more than $600 and it was in mint condition. There wasn't a scratch on that instrument. And then the Jackson I gave him, even though it was a little junky and didn't get here right, ended up being at least playable after I put a lot of work into it. So he got two playable instruments, one mint condition, perfect collectible Dean Angel of Death 2, and then a playable Jackson crappy guitar, and a little tiny amp. I gave him a little, whatever, like a $20 Dane Electro mini amp. And I actually kind of missed the Dane Electro. I'm going to get another one of these days. And honestly, I didn't like the one I got because the ones I saw said Dane Electro down the front of the amp, and this one just had a flat plastic piece instead of the Dane Electro bumpy kind of print. So the next one I'm getting, I'm going to make sure it has that. Alright, so I guess I just got to take this one out if it wants to come out. There we go. Okay, and my daughter my daughter Elise, who just got married, God bless her, gave me as a present for my birthday, for my 48th birthday, this Cobalt electric screwdriver. And so I've been just seeing what I can't zap with this electric screwdriver all over the place. It's been a lot of fun. Makes it a lot easier to tear apart my stuff. So this is of course attached, and oh goodness, there's stinky like residue, probably not legal residue all over the place on this. This is Indiana, by the way. I don't think they've legalized weed here just yet, but whatever. I'm not complaining. And so yeah, I did hook him up, and I got these three fun instruments to work on. And hopefully I can turn them into something. And because this was all just a nice trade, I really don't care too much. I can do whatever I want with these things, and it's not going to set me back too much at all, because you know, I'm just going to have fun with it. So here we're looking at, of course, dime pots, a little capacitor, cute, and that's the loose one. And as it's turning, see, the pot is not loose itself, and so that's a bad sign, because that means that the pole in the pot is actually broken. So as I'm turning this, it shouldn't go any further, and so this will probably need to be replaced. It even has an A on there for an alpha pot, and it's probably what, like a 250 or something, but it's a dime pot. So this will probably need to be replaced. The other one is okay. It actually locks into place. But when you feel these roaming free on there, it's either that the nut has gotten loose, and so it's allowing this pot to spin around in there, or the pole that goes down into the pot is actually broken, and that's what we have here, is that pole. And you know, it might still work, but you don't want to keep using it like that. It means that the inside of it is broken. Okay, so the switch still looks okay. It's a cheap, crappy three-way switch. Looks like it might be grounded to some kind of backing or something. I don't know. There's the grounding's odd. Okay, so we'll go ahead and put that back in there for a second. And why not? We'll just go ahead and take off the plate. Yeah, see, it's even got, it lights up. Isn't that delightful? It's delightful. It's fun. This is, you know, now this is the equivalent of me unscrewing all of this in fast forward, but I can talk and I don't sound like, you know, Alvin and the Chipmunks on helium. And, you know, I love to just yammer on and on and on. So this is getting ready to come off, and just take a look. I hope there's nothing inside this, like, for real. But we'll see. Here we go. Okay, that's off of there. We'll flip it around, and we've got our little magnet pots there. Cute. Doesn't look like a bad pickup. Alright, and it's a three-piece scratch plate, and the inside is got the supposedly grounding paint going on here, and I think someone's even tested that and found it to not even protect against, you know, it's not grounded. Whatever, that doesn't mean anything to me at all. You know, that grounding paint is funny because it's like, as long as your wiring is okay and your setup is properly grounded on the inside, none of that stuff really matters, I don't think. I might be wrong, but I don't think it does. It's, you know, it's, if there's some type of, you know, artificial noise coming from your instrument, you want to fix that. So you're not like adding some kind of grounding paint or whatever to the inside of the instrument and then playing an instrument that's screwed up, and so the grounding paint is actually fixing the problem. So it doesn't make sense. I get it. It's cute and everything, but I don't think it's really 100% necessary to even put grounding paint on it. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm fine. Whatever. I'm fine with being wrong. If that's not true, fine. But I was under the impression that if your stuff was grounded properly, then you don't have to worry about that. Let's see if this does it. No, it says, oh, it's too much. Oh, there it goes. I gave it one turn, and then it decided it was okay. So I'll try that with this one. There we go. Wow. It's strong enough to take the screws out of a neck. How about that? Oh. Just a few turns just to get it a little looser. Wow. And there we go. Cute. Got your etched Squier plate. Cute. And the neck is off. Alright, let's flip this. Oh God, holy crap. Yeah, I should have laid down my shirts. I've been forgetting to do that. It's okay. Oops, no big whoop. Okay. Well, we've got the body here, and it does have little stamps on it for whatever reason. Like a little green stamp. But yeah, I'm gonna, it has a plug. It has a plug there, right at the tip of where the skunk stripe starts. So maybe that has something to do with the rod. And it says, here we go. Designed and backed by Fender, crafted in Indonesia. Wow. Ooh, wow. It's Indonesia. And you all know that's generally better than China, usually. I mean, unless you're talking about specific instruments like the Epiphone stuff. You know, they have a dedicated plant that's monitored by Gibson representatives, and this is a loose tuning machine. Now that I'm peeling off the little plastics for the first time, yeah, these tuning machines need to be tightened. As I'm peeling off this plastic, see that? That rattle. So that means that the nut on top of the tuning machine has gotten loosened, and or it was never, you know, super tight to begin with. Will need to be tightened down to better secure, and that can make noise. So when you're playing, if you get some kind of going on, that's could be the tuning machine needs the nut tightened down. And I don't know, I think these might be okay tuners. Even though they look like the cheap closeback, they do have a higher degree of quality than the cheapest, crappiest closeback tuners. Yeah, they have a tighter feel. They actually have like a kind of a black opening on the bottom of the tuning machine. So they're higher quality tuning machines than just the very, very cheapest, crappiest stuff. No shim, but definitely, and no paint. So they made sure that when they did the paint, they kept it out of the pocket, which I think that's good, because paint can have, well, okay, let's put it this way. If all you have to do to shim a guitar is put the ever tiniest bit of paper or cardboard or something in there for some of the cases that you might have to correct, then think about what the unevenness of paint could cause in the pocket. And so when you see guitars and, you know, the neck gets taken off and this was painted, that's like a free radical that you definitely don't want. You want this to be clean and clear, and so, and it's flat. This is good and flat. It looks like it was done well. I don't know what the body is made of. With Telecasters, you can have fun and make them out of whatever. So we got a nice skunk stripe. Let's see, the neck is looks pretty straight. I don't think there's any twists or anything funky going on with it. The tiny bit of hang, and of course the board itself is absolutely disgusting. Like there's like a grotesque level of finger dirt or whatever this is. I guess it could be slobber from a drooling weed head. I don't know. Let's see. So let's look. There we go. Look at that. You can see this really nasty, dirty stuff. And yeah, this is filthy. Actually, now that I'm looking at it, look at that. Look how filthy that is. That's like, oh man, that's disgusting. Yuck. Oh god. Yuck. Yeah. So this is getting the treatment here. We're going to be level crown polished, 4/0 quad-aught steel wool, the whole thing, treatment. The frets will be nice and clean and good. Now, I'm going to check the frets because this guitar has seen so little play. You can see here your little, barely any etch marks from the cowboy chords. They're not flat. There's no real, you know, visible super flat indentations or anything, but we'll check the entire thing and just see if we get any rocking frets. Here's our Squier by Fender. More like a squirty letter than a spaghetti letter, but it's still cool. Telecaster. Designed and backed by Fender. Crafted in Indonesia. Here was our quality control, and it's been worn off. And truss cover full of whatever that's full of. So this is going to be a lot of fun to work on. I'll probably just do all the work to get it. Well, actually, I don't know about the I guess that'd be the volume pot. So I might need to order some parts to finish this, because I don't know, and then that will give me the opportunity to upgrade the pots. I could actually put 500K alpha nickel pots on there. I could put another dime pot that's a higher quality. It's a chance to upgrade the instrument. I can shop for a bridge. So phase one is, tear apart the instrument and prepare it to be cleaned and straightened out and everything. Okay, I have checked over these pots. I went ahead and took off the knob and took out the pot, and it is not the pot. So this pot should still work, and this knob is messed up. The little plastic grip inside of it, if I put the knob on here, it's too easy to put on there. First off, it shouldn't go on that easy. There should be some resistance. As I turn it, it just lets it go. And so what's happening is this knob's plastic, where it grips on to the shaft here that's going down into the pot, is messed up. So, and you can feel it. It's like loose inside there, nasty. I might have a replacement for this that I can just pop on there. I can go check in my stuff. But that's good news, because that means I don't have to replace this pot that's already on there. It's got the, I guess it's about the highest quality dime size pot you could have. It's an alpha. It's made in Korea, so it's not horrible. I also found out this is I'm pretty sure this is a Squier Bullet Stratocaster made in Indonesia. And they said there really wasn't much of a quality difference based on where they were made. And these were replaced by the Sonic series. So, but the Sonic series does not have a triple colored scratch plate. And the Sonic series are predominantly manufactured in China. Although, like I just said, there isn't, a visible difference in quality between those. So, I also have some roller saddles, and I'm going to go ahead and put one roller saddle on here, and because that's a really high up string tree, this roller saddle is going to be slightly lower, and that's going to increase the break angle on the nut, and it will relieve any kind of catchiness that would have been created by this, cheaper kind of string tree. So I'm thinking that might be a double bonus for sustain and for clarity and tuning. So hopefully that will help. Next, I'm going to get some disinfectant wipes, and we're going to just clean this entire thing as much as humanly possible. Try to get some of that indica stank off of this instrument. One hour till my monkeys come home. Today is early release Tuesday, where monkeys rain down upon us 45 minutes early. And I can look out the window, and that's where they get dropped off, is right in front of our house, and I can just see the monkeys pouring out in all directions and monkeying down the street. And there's someone that picks up a kid in a Tesla truck, and my kid said, "Look, it's the low polygon count car." And that cracked me up. It's a low polygon count car. That's what a Tesla truck is a low polygon count car. Okay, I fixed this knob. What I did was I got in there with my let's see, where is it? Now that I've set it aside, with my ever popular multi-tool, and basically I tore out any kind of nastiness that was getting in the way, and I bent the plastic inward to create some tightening there, and now it's good and tight. It's not going anywhere. It's good. Okay. So, pretty sure that helped. Now I think I might have a replacement knob somewhere, but for now I'm just going to leave things the way they are. If I need to replace the knob, that's nothing. I can just yank the knob off and put a different knob on. So now I'm giving it a much needed de-weeding. Phew, this thing stinks. This thing would make Tommy Chong proud. He'd be like, I tried that before, man. I know what that's from. Whoa. He'd probably think something was hidden inside it. But yeah. So this is, yeah, it's cleaning up. Let's see here. Get the underside. And this is a disinfectant cleanser too. It's not just, you know, disinfecting. And it's meant for appliances and stuff. But, you know, this is an enamel painted instrument. And this enamel is something that might be on a oven or a stove or an appliance. It's not greatly dissimilar from what you might find on something you would use these wipes on normally. And I'm doing this for a couple reasons. It's lemon scented, meaning it doesn't smell like cannabis, and it cleans. So just a kind of a preemptive strike on the grody-ness. Now they used, whoever did this used pencil lead. So they knew to use pencil lead to smooth up the action. So yeah, but there's like some kind of disgusting nastiness on there, and I want to go over this fretboard, but I'm not going to. I'm going to leave the fretboard for the work. I've got all my stuff sitting out ready to go. And there's going to be a lot of lemon scent going on here pretty soon, because I'm going to treat the neck with the wonderfully scented lemon scent fretboard oil. And of course, this stuff is lemon scented, and it's cleaning off dirt. No one ever cleans their guitars. It's not a thing. So yeah, I was watching a video the other day, and a guy had his Gibson. And he was like, you know, I just wanted to talk about something I noticed about Gibsons. He's like, I have Epiphones, but I also have Gibsons. And I've noticed that, you know, look at this. And he held the Gibson up really close to the camera. And he was like, I've only had this Gibson for a few years now. And he goes, but look. And there were little tiny cracks forming in the seal, and it was yellowing. He said, look how yellow this has gotten and everything. And you know, I'm just yelling at the screen. They do that on purpose, and that's something some people might not know. And of course, this might be a conspiracy. You can tell me I'm wrong, or it's not how things are. That's fine, whatever. But I think, and I'm not the only person that thinks this, that Gibson uses a thin amount of nitrocellulose lacquer on their guitars so the instruments will age faster. So when you buy a Gibson, you know, they have this concept like, you know, you're a musician and you're American and you're standing next to a wheat field and you're jamming and you got sons and grandsons and you're all dewy-eyed and everything, and you're passing this instrument down and it's worth $3,000. Well, now it's worth $5,000, and it's worth $6,000 and $10,000, and your son is going to be a musician and your grandson's going to, and that's this, like, you know, this policy that kind of attracts you to it. It's silly, right? I mean, it's fake. I'm not saying it never happens, but that's the appeal of the Gibson. And so, to kind of curtail but also enforce that, they use that standard nitrocellulose lacquer finish so it will age rapidly. If you put that guitar in the sun, it's going to turn yellow in no time. If you let it have some weather, it's going to start cracking. And then it looks like you're one of these guys that went on tour and that's your old axe that you've been playing for 20 years now, and look how much has happened. But if you buy an Epiphone, it's nearly as good as a Gibson, and it will look the same forever. And that's because they use a polyurethane finish on it. My point, though, being Gibson now, today, does that on purpose. They put that finish on that guitar knowing that it's going to age rapidly. And the person that buys it may not know that. They don't know because they don't work on guitars. They don't know anything about, the little insider secrets of how things are done in the industry so much as they might know a lot about a Gibson guitar, the wood it's made of, or, where parts are sourced from, or how much it is here or there, ever. But they don't know Gibson is putting that finish on it so it will age rapidly. And they are. That's part of the appeal. So if I buy a Gibson, I already know not to point things like that out. I'm not gonna make a video and go, everybody, I just discovered something. This Gibson is already cracking and it's fading and it's yellowing. I've only had this thing for 5 years. That's what they do. That's what they do. That's what a Gibson guitar does, is it cracks and yellows and fades very, very rapidly. And that's part of the collectability of it, but it's also part of the pseudo experience. You're not Slash from Guns N' Roses, and Slash didn't play a real Gibson. He played a custom-made instrument. You're not, Peter Green. You're not some guy who, maybe you are, but I doubt it. Somebody who, changed the world of rock with your Les Paul. You're not Les Paul. Okay, but then, oh man, look at Grandpa's Les Paul. Man, he must have played that 1,000 times. Look how yellow it is. Look how cracked it is. Oh man, and then the grandma's in the background canning green beans, just shaking her head like, yeah, he's played that thing about 20 times in the 40 years we've been together. It's part of it. It's part of the experience. They do it on purpose. And you can tell me they don't do it on purpose and blah, 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 blah. They do it on purpose. And there are people out there that do guitar reviews, and I respect them very much, and they will openly admit that they love Epiphones, but they don't really like Gibsons. And it's because an Epiphone is an extremely high quality instrument, and it's not pointed towards the collector's market. It's not pointed towards that misty-eyed, kind of fake, grandfathering kind of, I don't know. It's not as much a collector instrument as it is a workhorse, professional grade instrument. And so some people like the Epiphones more. Now, I might not. I've only, like I've said in my previous videos, I've only played Gibsons a couple times in my life. So I can't sit here and say definitively, oh, Gibsons are just the thing, right? And I'd love to have one, eventually plan on getting one, all that great stuff. But I have learned that through mentors and stuff, that Gibsons are actually made to age rapidly. They're going to age very rapidly when you buy one. So don't be too sad if you buy it and then you look at it and you go, oh man, it's so beautiful, it's so clean, it's so brand new. And then a year later go, huh, is that a bunch of finish cracks on that? And then 2 years later go, this thing is completely yellow. And then 3 years later go, this thing has faded and it's scuffed and it's yellow and it's got cracks everywhere. That's how it is. It has a gummy bear glaze on it that is not protecting the instrument at all. It's just there to adapt. And it does. If you put it in the sun, it turns yellow. If you play it, the finish dries up where you play and it starts to crack. If you play it a lot, move it a lot, wherever there's action, it's going to fade. And that is not good. For a person who doesn't care about collectability like me so much, I don't care so much about that. I care about playing it and it being a great, beautiful, aesthetically pleasing and aesthetically good sounding instrument. I want it to have that longevity. And so with that in mind, I can see why there are some of those respected reviewers and musicians. Some of these reviewers are people who played in bands their entire lives. They've been on stage for decades. They are legit authorities on the subject, and that's who I'm talking about. The man I'm talking about is an authority on the subject, and he takes down two Les Pauls, an Epiphone and a Gibson, and he's like, now, first off, I can't endorse paying $3,000 to $4,000 to $5,000, he'd say pounds, for this instrument. And then he would talk about the Epiphone in a very high light, like with high regard, because they are professional grade instruments and they're not insanely expensive and they're not meant for a collector. They're not meant for some kind of like false gratification kind of modality like with the collector style kind of Gibson. So, just to point that out, for people that might not know, Gibsons are made to age rapidly. Okay. I went ahead and fixed this. Now the way I fixed this knob is I took some toothpick wood material here. Actually had left over from my acoustic repair. And I put it in a couple of the little plastic rungs that were loose, and it made a wood barrier so that they can't be loose anymore, and it tightened it up perfectly. So that part is done.
I am actually very glad that that pot was not broken.
It doesn't smell like pot anymore. Whoa! It's really shiny and nice. All right. I think the common tool for this is like a wrench top, like a socket wrench or something. But this is what I have right here, and as long as you're careful, then you're not going to scratch up anything. And just gonna, every one of these is loose. So I'm just gonna go in here and give them a couple of turns. But yeah, and one way you can do this is get a little socket wrench bit and just put it on with your hand and give it a nice tight turn. That's fine too. And they make plastic wrenches for this, which are, preferable, because you're dealing with, sometimes you're dealing with finishes and, intricacies you don't want to scratch or mar. And so, a nice hard plastic wrench does this really good. I'm just being careful. Now this, like I said, is a Squier bullet. I did a little bit of research. and they said that the all black letters without the gold trim is either the newer Sonic series or the Bullet series. And like I said, I think the Sonic series actually replaced the Bullet series. I don't know why I thought this, but and this might be how it is with the Strat, but I was under the impression that the Bullet series instruments were smaller, but I don't think this instrument is smaller. So maybe I was just, you know, wrong about that to begin with. But it's a, you know, budget-minded, entry to intermediate level Telecaster. I think the Affinity series, again, I might be wrong about this. I won't pretend that I know much about Telecasters, but I think the Infinity series has a belly cut on the body, and this doesn't. This is more like the traditional Telecaster that's just flat. It's just a flat chunk, and I like that. I don't care too much really about belly. I like them on the Stratocasters, especially on like Pacer style bodies like Kramer guitars. Okay, that's nice and tight now, and we'll go ahead and check this, and we'll just give it a look here. It's looking super flat. This is actually and truly flat. This is a flat neck. Oh, yes, flat neck right now. Okay, very flat. Okay, we'll give it the rocker just to really hoping that this isn't going to require a whole bunch of work. What I'd like, ideally, is to be able to just do the edges of these frets and then polish the frets. I think that that would be very, very good. And the person that brought this guitar, even though he himself was, you know, somewhere in between Jupiter and Uranus, that doesn't necessarily mean that this guitar wasn't set up properly before he started playing it. He was a musician. He played, you know, he played the instrument that I gave him. He tested it out. He also sent me a message on Facebook Marketplace in the little messenger window of him playing the instrument, and he actually couldn't get it to work at first, and he said he thought that something was wrong, and I realized that he had the wrong cable plugged into the wrong hole. I was like, no, you need to switch the cables because you've got the output plugged into the input and the input plugged into the output. And then he switched them right there on camera, and then he's like, oh, it worked. And then he started jamming. He thought the guitar was broken. But no, I wouldn't sell a broken instrument to somebody unless I told them it was broken. These frets are all great. There's no rocking at all. There's a mild amount of sharpness, so I can do the edges, and then I can polish this thoroughly, and there's going to be shiny and new and clean and perfect, and it can go right back up on the body. So this will be a player. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this and replace it with the nice little roller saddle, which I will always consider a great improvement, because these string trees, I truly believe they snag the strings. They detune and snag and ping and do all kinds of, you know, bad stuff. So this little roller tree has a peg on the bottom of it, a little tiny peg. Let's see if you can see that. And so it doesn't just go, oh, you've got a screw hole there. So what I'll do is I'll use the old screw hole for the peg, and then create a new screw hole for the, and actually I think it would be this way, for the string tree. And so it'll end up being about right there. Actually, I'll go ahead and look and find a reference to compare. And then the strings will come down a little bit lower. All right. So that's next. All right, I'm going to use this steel wool to take off any little straggly, burry, hangy stuff from the base of this neck. That way when it's back on the body, it's flat. So just anything on here jutting out is off. You can also use a file, of course, to do this. You can get your handy dandy file and just give it a little bit of scratchy there. And you can also use the screw that was in it and kind of coax out any bits there. I don't like anything sticking out here that's gonna, get in the way. I don't want anything that's gonna cause an unevenness to the neck. And when they put this on, of course, it gets pulled really close to the body, but then when you take it off, those little bits are gonna pop out. So who knows how they affected the neck to begin with, but once you have a chance to get in there and get rid of them, and what this would be in manufacture would be a immeasurably long amount of time where they had to unscrew the entire neck and then do all this. So this is just a extra step to ensure a better fitting neck, just to help out a little bit. And I don't mind, it's nothing. Okay, so I've got a hole prepared here for I'm just going to smooth it down a little bit so there's no burrs. That's very good. And I'm just going to set this in here and put my screw in there. Okay. Oh, it's like it got loose. I hear buses. My kids should be here very, very soon. There we go. And we have a nice little string tree on here. It's like I overturned slightly, so I'm going to give it a little bit of a turn. There we go. And that's right in there. Yeah, it can kind of tilt to one side or the other as that pressure comes down. Once the strings are under it, it's going to have a little bit of pressure coming from underneath. So you want it tight, but you don't want the pressure to be enough to twist it to one side or the other. Okay. Okay, the neck is now ready to be sanded and have the little edges taken off the frets. That's the next step. So I'm going to go ahead and give it the sponge. Okay, that's got some of them, but not all. I might have to take a file to it. All right, let's see. That's got it very smooth. I like how that works. I really do. That's especially when it's just light, just the ever lightest bit of overhang. Like it's just barely there. Yeah, that's pretty smooth now. I'm going to go ahead and do that up and down the sides, and then I'm going to attack these frets. Okay, I've dealt with the overhang. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the frets. I did notice there's a tiny bit of chip out on the first fret of this instrument right here. I might deal with that later. I might apply some wood to this and then sand it down eventually. It's tiny. I don't see it affecting the play. But I may have to fix that, and it's there. Okay, so now it's time to use the magic of this wonderful, super fine steel wool. I'm going to actually put away this big globby one and use a fresh one for the frets. And I'm going to go up and down this, and we're going to see all this nasty dirt come off here. Alright. Okay, so I'm getting rid of all of this nasty stuff. I might go ahead and zoom in here a little bit so we can get a look. The frets are shining up great. I can tell where I've been here just by how disgusting the fretboard is. And I'm not 100% sure if the residue from this dust contains THC, but it is shining up really good. And I smoothed the frets. There's no more sharp frets, no more hanging frets. And I'm just giving this a nice shine up here. Get these frets kind of mirroring, kind of blinging, but we'll look here. You can see how dirty this is, and just watch how fast that gets rid of that. It's like an eraser. And of course it's going to shine the fret up really good. Almost ready to test this out. Now this is fine steel wool, and it will get up under the very edge of the fret sometimes. That doesn't mean your fret is too high or anything like that. The wool is just so very fine that it's really thinner than hair, and so it will get up into stuff, and that is not an indicator of a high fret or a fret that's protruding from the fretboard. It's just how thin the stuff is, and the gaps that are on the frets within acceptable limits are still wider than anything that would block the fine threads of this steel wool from getting in there. And you know, they harvest this from, I guess, robot sheep. Like there's these robot sheep out in the field. They eat nuts and bolts and tin cans and stuff, and that's where all the steel wool comes from, is these robotic sheep. They're out there like, bah! And they get them, and they use like really advanced titanium unbreakable shears to get all of the steel wool off of the robot sheep. And they feed them a whole bunch of nuts and bolts and tin cans and stuff, so they're nice and healthy. I don't think they kill them. I don't think they can kill them. I don't think you can actually kill a robot sheep. They're just too powerful. And that's probably why this wool is so cheap. You know, this is the cheapest stuff. Something like, I don't know, $3 or $4 for a big bag of like 20 of these wads. So, I'm going to finish this and be right back. Okay, we've got some super shiny, mirrory frets going on here. I'll go slow. I went ahead and sanded the nut to get some cannabis sativa off of there. And there we go. We got the new rolling tree on there. The tuners are tightened. The frets edges have been done. And next up is a lemon oil treatment. So I'll zoom out a hair. That's zoom in. Okay. And let's go ahead and start that. This neck is so flat that I'm sure that once it's got some string tension, we're going to have some relief. I'm going to intonate the instrument. I'm going to try to get the action lower. And then we're going to plug it into the flamethrower. See if I can't get it to sound good. Now these are known for twang and clean and you know, but that doesn't mean you have to play that with it. And in case anyone was wondering how they came up with the Telecaster design, well, you know, Leo Fender designed the Stratocaster, the Telecaster, and the P-Bass. Leo's actually his middle name, and it's Leonidas. So when people say Leo Fender, that's actually Leonidas, like King Leonidas. And I think, and don't quote me on this, but I think what happened was when he made the Strat, he was like, but you know, people are liking these Gibsons, right? I don't know what to do about it. So he grabbed a Gibson and then he ran it over with a steamroller, and then that was the first Telecaster. And if you look at it, doesn't it just look exactly like somebody just like ran over a Les Paul? I mean, it's what it looks like. It looks like there was a Les Paul and it was all curvy and everything, and then it got flattened. Really, really flat. But no, honestly, it is a single cut. It's a single cut. Where a Stratocaster is a double cut, a Telecaster is a single cut. Where a SG is a double cut, and LP is a single cut, meaning that there's one cut under the body where your hand can reach the pocket, and you know, whoever knows what the top cut is other than to imitate some hokey old guitar design, I don't know what it's for. It looks good, but functionally it's useless, I guess. Well, you can use it to carry around your guitar. You can grab the top horn of your instrument and just kind of carry it around. That's fine. Unless you have a monkey grip on your Steve Vai signature Ibanez or something, then you can carry it through the upper body of it. But if you're a caveman and you don't have the monkey grip, then you can carry it around with the top horn, which would be the unused second cut of a double cut guitar. But yeah, the Telecasters are used heavily. There are lots of people who play them. Some people out there even say they're their favorite instruments. I think a couple of YouTubers that I like a lot have said, I think even, didn't, what's his name, Landon? Oh man, he's really funny. He does great videos. I watch him a lot. I think he said the Telecaster was his favorite. And, you know, sometimes I think he's not even trying to be funny. He's just that way, but he's funny. And, if I run through all the guitarist YouTubers and luthiers I watch, I made a list once, and it was well over 100. I have so many on my list. I also watch other people too, though. But I watch Highline Guitars, that's one. Scar My Guitar, I watch that a lot, who got hacked recently, so that can earmark this timeline, this video in the timeline here. Just recently, Scar My Guitars was hacked. Some foul manifestation of hell hacked the nicest, homeliest guitar channel that does almost nothing but hook people up and help them out with advice and very entertaining content, and they deleted their channel. So for a brief period of time there, Scar My Guitar was gone, and people were like, is it coming back? Is everything okay? And then YouTube helped them, and Glenn Fricker of Spectrum Sound helped, and Guitologist helped them out a little, I think. I think he discussed things with them. The team got together and in the Hall of Justice, and they defeated the Legion of Doom. So that's good, with the help of Glenjamin Franklin. So, you know, they took care of it. They took care of the problem, and that's good. They're back. And I have wanted one of their guitars. Now, they started making some. Now, this all started, I've been watching Scar My Guitar since the very beginning. And they had this like band, and that's where their theme song came from. Don't You Touch My Scarred Guitar is that he had these like youngsters, like I don't know, early 20s, late teens, and they were playing guitar and singing, and they came up with that song, and they were on the first few videos that he did. And then one of his first really popular videos was him making a acoustic electric, or like an acoustic that used electric guitar saddles, using a CNC machine that just cut out the body. And it was kind of big and heavy and wide and everything, but it was a start. And then just recently he's come out with these ones that are very unique. They are I don't know what to describe them as. They are like an LP, but kind of with a sharper horn coming out, and they look like some kind of amazing professional high-grade instrument. And I wanted one of those right when I saw it. And they make custom guitars for people. They'll do inlays that are like your name in the neck of the guitar. And they also have Scar My pickups, and that's Kathy, who's his wife, girlfriend, life partner, mate there, making custom wound pickups. So they do it all. They make in-house custom wound pickups. They do custom 100% necks and bodies electric guitars. And it's Sean and Kathy of Scar My Guitar. I also watch, you know, lots of them. I can watch Spectrum Sound Studio, or Spectrum, Glenn Fricker's channel, who I call Glenjamin Franklin. But I have to make sure that no one is around, because he is foul. He is one of those people that, you know, he'll just fly right off on the handle, and he does not govern his, and you know, why not? You know, if you're an adult and you're not around children ever, then by all means let your freak flag fly there, I guess. Let your freedom of speech fly. But I have to be careful. I try not to use too much foul language around children. And so I can't watch Spectrum Sound as much as I'd like to, unless there's no one around. But I also watch lots and lots of other music YouTubers. Charles Berthound, he's the guy that is a prodigy on bass guitar. I probably mispronounced his name. He said how his name's pronounced, but I don't even remember that episode very well. So many. There's just so many of them. There are endless ones, really. Budget Guitar, I watch him. He's a really saucy Brit that is always talking about cheap guitars and, you know, how to set them up and make them good. And he's even made a couple guitars. I think he made a couple really neat guitars. So it's from all directions, you know. They're all levels of pro, and of course Guitar Max. You know, he's one of the best, if not the best, technical guitarist. Unless you're just watching Michelangelo Badio videos all the time. Bald Shredder's pretty good. He deleted my favorite records list though, and so Yeah, not good. Whatever though. He's there. Watch him. He's technically proficient guitarist. He also likes to review cheap guitars. Kind of broke my heart a little bit because my first record on my list was Pink Floyd Rumors. The rule was I think it had to be bracketed in between the 80 and 90, but because Pink Floyd Rumors is my favorite record of all time, and because, or not Pink Floyd, Fleetwood Mac Rumors is my favorite record of all time, and Fleetwood Mac is my favorite band of all time, I had to say it. And I even said, hey, I know it's, late 70s, but they got a lot of coverage in the 80s too. I mean, you were hearing songs from Rumors all through the entire 80s. Their most permeance was arguably throughout the 80s. So I felt it was pertinent, but they kept deleting my record list, and I'm thinking, okay, fine, I'm not gonna. And I took a hiatus, and I'll probably, but I'm not saying don't watch the guy. Watch the guy all you want to. He's great and everything, but I'm trying to participate too, and I'm not. Maybe I didn't follow your rules specifically, but I made a completely decent list of the greatest, in my opinion, the best records in between the 80s and 90s, and they weren't thrash metal. There were a couple on there. There was a Megadeth album on there that I really liked. But for the most part, it was just a very broad, diverse selection of albums that I remembered hearing most of the music from as a kid. And maybe I owned the cassettes of them. And maybe my mom even owned the albums of them. And eventually, when I grew up, I had the albums of them. But apparently, that was not allowed to be in the comments. And it was a really good list. So yeah, it kind of broke my heart a little bit. So, also, there was Will's Easy Guitar. And I think he backed away because he had I don't know, he had all kinds of problems, like medical problems kind of crept up on him from all directions, and he did Gelvin guitars, and they were amazing instruments. Like, there were one of a kind, amazing instruments, and so he would teach, and I learned an immense amount from Will's Easy Guitar. I learned so much about setting up instruments and how to work on instruments. He was one of, if not my primary source for most of what I learned, and he had a really entertaining channel. I think the channel's still up, but I don't know if he's done any new content in a long time. So yeah, I'm going to let this sit. As you can see, it's still a little bit wet, but I'm going to let it drink up that lemon oil. And I don't know if this is a laurel or rosewood. It could be one or the other. I've seen listings that show tellies that have laurel. I think they might be the Affinity series. And then these other, like the Sonics and the Bullets, have just rosewood, which just rosewood, that's fine. Rosewood is good. So this is going to soak, and then we're going to put it on the guitar and start that last process of intonating, tuning it up, testing it out with some fresh strings. All right, it is brand new, except for the obvious not newness of it. So, I'm going to put some strings on it, get ready to intonate, test it out. got her somewhat in tune. It's not exactly there, but I've noticed that it looks like somebody like kind of experimented with the saddle heights on this, because with the fresh strings I've got a whole lot, like, okay, G is way low, and it looks like D is way high. Someone might have been trying to match the curvature, but I mean there's a distinct separation between G, B, and E, and E, A, and D. We've got D is like tactilely high above G, and so I know, and it's all way too high up. Like this thing is way high strung. As far as there's almost no relief, so I know it's in the saddle. So first thing, and the saddles are all high. They're all cranked up high. So I'm going to get a tiny wrench and lower saddles and see where I can get this. I don't think we're at a shim yet, but because I think it can be worked out with the saddles because they're all pretty high. But you know, this does put you in a situation like what most people don't want to be in, where you have little, you know, riser pieces sticking up out of your saddle. That's just a, you know, necessary evil with these style of bridges, unless you want to chop or file or whatever. Once you get it at a good spot, I guess if you wanted, you could, you know, chop down those or get little ones or something. But you know, it's meant to be able to be up here, and if it's going to be up there, then this neck is going to go back. But because there's no relief, I don't want a back bow. So, and it's flat, so these will have to go down. That's going to be the next step. it's intonated. The instrument is, I've got the strings leveled out pretty good. It's really shiny and nice, even though it does have a couple of little chips here and there. The tone pot is good. Let's go ahead and test it though. With this guy, and now I don't know if this is just my settings or what, but it seems bassier, and it could be because I usually play a Strat that's really high pitched and in the bridge zone. So when I go up on this little small front pickup, it seems bassy. Pickup. I adjusted it, I lowered it because I noticed this magnet was really close to this string, or I think the vibrations of the string would alter it, and so I lowered that. The string heights I've pretty much dialed in. The height on this guy here, maybe so if I just run through them. Every note, every fret, everything touches, everything works. So yeah, no sharp fret ends at all. Everything's super smooth. Frets are super shiny and clean. So let's see here. So these are new strings. Okay. And so let's do the rundown. This was filthy. It smelled like cannabis completely. The neck, the fingerboard was disgusting. There was little bits of stuff all over. None of it was actual leafy planing stuff, but definitely some leftover like ashy nastiness. Excuse me. The nut was filthy. It was stained. It had crap all over it. I didn't like the string tree. I don't like the catchy bindy string trees. The tuning machines were loose. Okay. So yeah, I cleaned the entire thing. I adjusted the saddles. I intonated the instrument. I fixed this knob. I polished the frets. I edged the frets. I polished the top of the nut, and I added the roller tree right there. and tuned it up, put brand new strings on it, some GHS boomers. Of course, I tightened the nut on each of the tuning machines. The tuning machines are okay. They are tight, but they're not like, obviously not the highest quality tuning machines I've ever used, but they are good. They get the job done, and they're pretty tight. Good winding. I'm happy with the height now. There's almost no relief. It's very, very flat, and I like that. One thing that I can say about it is the nut is cut too low. When I press down here and then go to push down on the nut on the third, this guy is right on the top of the fret, and I don't like that. I like to have a tiny bit of space, and it looks like maybe the G did maybe, yeah, but all of them are right on this. I mean, almost like it's a 0 fret. They're all down really low. So a new nut to add just a smidgen, like just a tiny smidgen of height to the strings. But it's good. It plays well. So, I mean, I'll probably just leave it the way it is for now because it plays very well. There's limited buzzing. There's a little tiny bit of it on the front. Sounds like it might have dropped a little tune. I did bend the strings, but you have to work out the strings, a few times to get them not to go out of tune. So these are fresh, and I'm liking it. The knobs are good. This knob that I fixed actually is working better than the ones are now. I'll probably, I don't know, maybe just pull it up a slight hair so it's a little looser. Good sustain. So yeah, I like it. I think it sounds pretty good. I mean, it's a good instrument. It still has, decades of life left in it and everything. Even I don't think it was ever really played very much. I think somebody, maybe played a couple cowboy chords on it and then set it aside and said, "Hey, I want a metal guitar. I want something jagged that looks like a battle axe with skulls on it and stuff." And so this, paisley, surf green, whatever color this is, got kind of set to the side and probably got used as a pot rolling table more than it ever got used as a musical instrument. So today is its brand new birth into usage, where it's going to be played a whole lot and it's going to get the attention that it probably always wanted. And so yeah, I'm very pleased with it. Okay, just some mild adjustments was, it needed a few mild adjustments. I want these strings to be just right. Now, a lot of times people will use presets, and I've talked about this before. That's fine. I go for the feeling of my fingers across the strings all the way through. Visually, I inspect the strings, and I just make sure that I can get them right where they need to be. And that's where they are now. like it. It's got great sound. I really like the feel of the neck now. It just needed, some respect. It needed the, treatment, everything. The neck needed, as far as a truss rod adjustment, the neck needed nothing. It was flat off, and then almost no forward relief on. So those people out there who love a nice flat neck, this is great. With the tiniest bit of a shim, then the saddles could go up all the way to their top, and then you would have extremely low action, probably maybe even too low of action. I've only got a little bit of toppage here on these saddles. One complaint I have is I think the nut, not only was it cut too low, but I think that the high E string was also cut too close to the edge. I think, honestly, almost visually, as I'm looking at it, it seems like it's too low. Like I'm looking at the gaps in between the strings, and then in between the B and the high E, it just looks like a wider gap than is supposed to be there. And I think it puts the high E string very, very close to the edge. So what I do to try to fix that without complete nut replacement is to adjust the saddle. And what I'll do is I'll put the ever slightest bit of tilt on the inside of the saddle to bring the string up. And you're not going to get much out of that, but it's enough. And you want to make sure that the alignment screws on the saddles are flat. So you don't want to do it to where you got a saddle kind of hanging out there, not touching the base. So I made sure that's not going on. Now with this bridge pickup, and I've got it backed off a little bit from the strings, it's good and loud, and it's also bright, but it has a bassiness to it. I like it. I like this single coil. It rocks. The front one, I kind of want to. I feel like it's awfully bassy, and this, like I said, this could just be my settings. Like my settings on my PA system are just maybe a little too bassy. So that could be it. If I try a different guitar that I know is brighter in the pocket, and then I try it out and it's too bassy, then I know my settings are doing that. And I might have changed them and totally forgot. Excuse me, I just ate a couple of gigantic, delicious vegan cheeseburgers with melted vegan cheese on them and some shredded lettuce and vegan mayonnaise. I even put the buns on the grill for a little bit. Oh, they were so good. They were so freaking good. They were, what were they? Were they Impossible patties? I think so. I think they were Impossible patties. They are not the ones from Burger King, though. These things are like, seriously, they're like this thick. And so what I do is through the first 7 or 8 minutes of cooking one side, I'll flatten them out once they get soft, and then flip them over and flatten them a little, then melt the cheese on them. Just so they're not such a huge thick bite, but they're so good. They're the best. They're the very, very best. So yeah, I'm hiccuping and kind of belching and gurgling over here. I'm really happy with the frets. Yeah, there's no sharp stuff going on here. It feels really great. The roundness of it now, it just really needed that. It needed that, setup level of attention. The strings look good. They're wound a little low where I installed the, I noticed they're wound a little low on the B and actually on the G as well. The winding's good on the D, but it looks like it's high on the A. It's pretty good on the E, on the low E. So, that it's okay though. It's all good. That's all fine. I still have injured thumbs. This thumb is still healing from being burnt severely, and it's got kind of some stuff going on here. You can probably see right here where it's still closing up and healing right there. But then the other day I was reaching down after doing some dishes and stuff. I saw something like a tiny bit of something on the stovetop, and I reached down to grab it. Like, what is that? Like a piece of something, food. I thought food related, right? And it ended up being a piece of glass, and it stabbed straight into my thumb, and it like hit a nerve. my thumb hurt so bad it still hurts, and I mean it closed up in minutes. It closed up in like, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes and stopped bleeding, but it's just hurt. It's hurt for days. So both thumbs are just wounded right now, and so I'm just trying to, get stuff done, trying to work through it, even though my thumbs are going, hey man, stop. But this is a very, very nice guitar now. It's a Squier. I'm pretty sure it's a Bullet. I don't think they do them anymore. I think they've replaced it with the Sonic series. The Bullets were some made in Indonesia, some made in China. I think all of the Sonics are now made in China. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's where they're at with that. And they didn't look any different, though. I think as I looked them over and stuff, I couldn't really notice too many differences at all, if any. The only thing I noticed was the triple pane scratch plate, and on the Sonics it's a single thick scratch plate. So this has like white, black, white, and the Sonic is just white, and that's it. That might even be the only difference. Maybe the material for the nut is different, but I seriously doubt it. So they're probably very, very similar, almost identical instruments. There's a lot of positive feedback about Chinese Squiers, just like with Chinese Epiphones. The main larger companies that have their endorsement through them, they don't want people thinking they're trafficking junk. But on that note, this guy I've been watching, who's really fun to watch, I think it's like Milehouse or something. He's an Australian, and he's really salty though. Another one just like Glenjamin Franklin there. You want to make sure no kids are around when you watch him, because he's vulgar. I mean, he's a very vulgar luthier, but he got a classic vibe, and I've always wanted a classic vibe, and I thought maybe this was a classic vibe Tele at first. But I want a classic vibe, I want a 50s classic vibe Stratocaster. I think he had like a 60s or whatever, 70s classic vibe Stratocaster, right? Now he was testing it out, tearing it apart, looking it over and everything. He got that neck and was going to do some work on the neck. And then he started working on it, and then he goes, you know what? I'm just going to refret this entire neck. And he stopped and he said, this is a glary quality neck. He just said it straight out, like, 6-gun, high noon, shot down in the streets, called a Squier Classic Vibe neck a glary neck. So that's been done. Now, of course, he might have just been grumpy because he got a particularly crappy neck, and it could be more hit or miss. But just to think that that's a really huge level of praise for glary, because they're just comparing them to, a $500, a three or four upwards of $500 instrument compared to their, between $60 and $120 instruments. And if you pay $120 to glary, you're getting a 10-watt amp and cords and bags, dust cover bags, all kinds of crap with it. So he was basically saying that the Squier, authorized by Fender, Squier Classic Vibe neck was a glary neck. And so, he refretted the entire thing, which a lot of time and effort. If you walk into a luthier and say, I need my neck refretted, he's going to go, that's great, because I wanted some money. I wanted a little bit of money. But this guy's doing this to turn around and sell the instrument. I think he sells it at cost, to whatever it cost him. And, he's getting the experience and having the fun, and he's got his show and getting the attention from it. But that's a luthier comparing the classic vibe Squier neck to a glary guitar neck. And he wasn't happy with it. He was like, saying this neck sucks. It's a piece of crap or whatever. He's comparing it to the very cheapest guitar neck that you can get on an instrument. So now this being a Squier neck, I can say with utter surety that this is a good neck. I don't know if the fret wires are, kryptonite or whatever. I can tell that it's been constructed well. The edges are smooth. The pocket's good. It's rounded at the pocket. Every fret was leveled well. There were no high frets. There was a little bit of hang, but that's probably weather related. It was easy to take care of. It was probably the least amount of fret hang that I've seen. It's a skunk stripe with your, rosewood on maple. And I think it's a high quality neck. It's pretty good. I mean, it feels really, really good. Plays fast. There's no damage to the back of the neck either, which leads me to believe this guitar wasn't really played. Maybe, like I said, maybe a few cowboy chords and then it got set aside. And so it's going to get a lot more attention. So, thanks for watching. This is a Squier Bullet. If you want one, go ahead and buy a Sonic because it's essentially the same instrument. They're about $200, a little over $200. I think there's some used ones. I saw an old used Bullet, but it had, some usage, and it was $150 before shipping, so it probably leveled out around $200 from a different source. But you're finding these all over the place, $200, $200, $200. So if you got $200, very, very good instrument for $200. I would say if you really like Telecasters, but maybe you want something a little more modern. It's definitely easier to intonate the bridge with the 6 saddles rather than the 3 little bars, which are going all over haywire and up and down and squee-wow trying to get an official original Telecaster intonated. These are easier to intonate. The break angle going into the deep ferrules are probably better for intonation and for sustained than the backstop ones that are on your standard ashtray style Telecaster bridge. Pickup sounds very, very good at the bridge. Pickup at the pocket, it's okay. If I'm playing really warm, soft, maybe bluesy, quiet stuff, this is going to be a very good pickup. Neck's great. The tuning machines are pretty good. They'll work. There's no reason that I can see to take them off or to replace them. They're good enough, even though I would say they're only maybe a step or two better than the cheaper ones that you get on cheap Chinese instruments. The nut's very good, but I think it might be cut a little too low. Maybe the way they do these is keeping them really low like that. So and I'm not getting any bad reaction from it because of how low it's cut. So I'm happy with it. Now, of course, I put the roller tee, whatever you want to call it, on here, and this is going to help so that these strings don't catch and they have a slightly better break angle. It's smoother, and it's going to help because you can get little pingy-dingy detuning effects with the flatter metal, grippy, cheap string trees. I guess they look kind of like power lines or something. I get those off the guitar quickly and put roller trees on there. But yeah, I like it. It's a good instrument. I'm for it. I'm going to try to keep it. I might sell it one day if someone wants a dinged up Telecaster, but they probably won't, so I'll probably end up keeping it. Thanks for watching.